on to the Zebulon Board of Commissioners work session, agenda November 16, 2023. First, we will need the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passed. We will
Skip that one.
the party grant acceptance. Manager Moore?
Thank you, Mayor. We have two items tonight. One is you've been successful in being awarded the Part F grant, and so your decision tonight is whether to accept that grant. And the second item we'll bring before you is we have two health insurance renewal alternatives for you to consider, and we'll request board decision on that. On that first topic, the Part F grant, I'll recognize Sheila Long, the Parks and Rec Director.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. I am going to be fairly brief, but I do want to take an opportunity, while it's information you have seen and are very familiar with, for the purposes of the public, just wanted to give a brief overview of the Little River Park Phase 1 and Part F process. So as a reminder, we did adopt our comprehensive master plan in September of 2021. Developing Little River Park was a high priority of our comprehensive plan. And then in November of 2022, our first step to that development was to adopt a site plan, which both of these plans included public engagement. What you see on the right-hand side in that map is the 3 phases of development of Little River Park. February of 2023, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board recommended that we approve, or recommend that the board approve Phase 1, which I'll review in just a moment, of the Little River Park development, and that we seek a Part F application. And in April of 2023, the Board of Commissioners did authorize the staff with the basic facts and assurances that's in front of you to proceed with an application for Part F, and we sought $500,000 from Part F. The project scope of Phase 1 included site prep and utilities, parking and amenities, landscaping, a shelter or shelters, and a restroom. The restroom was in Phase 3 of the site-specific plan, and through a public engagement process specific to this application, we heard from the community a desire to move the restrooms up from Phase 3 to Phase 1, and we were able to do that for this Part F process. The project also includes paved and unpaved trails and a natural classroom. The grant awarded to the town of Zebulon is for $500,000. The town's match is $598,050. You did allocate those funds in April of 2023 to guarantee the match. And what you see here in the map of North Carolina were the counties that received grants through this Part F process this year. And what you see in the chart, I know it's hard to read, but that's a list of grants that were awarded and the order of which they were awarded. So we were awarded fairly high, which meant our grant application matched what the park authority was looking for. Any questions about the Part F application, or not application, but the award? So in front of you, I did place the basic facts and assurances. And so what we are looking for this evening is a move to accept the Part F grant awarded at $500,000 and to authorize the manager to sign any implementation documents moving forward. It's a 3-year process with Part F, and meaning the project has to be done within 3 years. And the basic facts and assurances is what you authorize the town. It's got the project scope, the project contacts. We're not asking for any additional funds to be allocated to meet this grant award. And you've got the letter from the governor celebrating this and letting us know that we were awarded. And I'm available to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the Part F grant awarded at $500,000 and authorize the manager to sign the implementation documents.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Commissioner Miles, discussion? I would just like to thank the staff for all the effort they put into this grant application, and it's going to be a milestone for the town of Zebulon to have a park somewhere in the size of William B. Umstead or larger. I think it's going to be. So this is huge. So thank you. Roll vote. Commissioner Laux.
Favor.
Commissioner Clark.
Favor.
Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Commissioner Baxter.
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Health insurance renewal.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Board of Commissioners. The presentation you're going to see represents a team effort, so I'm going to recognize some of those team players. As we go through the presentation, while there will be a dedicated time at the end for questions, if you have a question come up during the time, feel free to raise your hand or interrupt us and ask a question. Lisa Markland worked on this. Lisa is going to have really good information with regard to how our employees use the insurance that we've got. Bobby Fitz is also with us. He can answer any budget questions associated with how we fund the insurance currently and how we intend to fund it in the coming year. And then you have met our broker, Alex Doberstein of IBA. He negotiates on behalf of the town to bring in insurance renewals, or when we do shop out, the most favorable premiums that we can. He'll be available to ask if you have any questions regarding the specific negotiation, but also I'm sure as you go through this presentation, you're going to have some health insurance industry questions as well that he'll be best suited to answer as well. So with that, I'll go ahead, and the outline of what we'll do is we'll revisit the background. Some of this was talked about at your mini retreat, but we recognize that we unloaded and unpacked a lot of information, so we're going to revisit some of that. We're then going to put before you not only the recommended plan that staff is recommending, but some of the rationale and the goals associated with that. Again, we'll have a dedicated time for you to ask questions, but as we go through these slides, because some of these slides require a lot of unpacking. If you have questions during any of those individual slides, feel free to interrupt. And then we are seeking a motion. We're going to give you two options. I'll just go ahead and tell you what those options are right now. One is to the do-nothing option, which is to continue with Blue Cross Blue Shield under a fully funded plan. And the recommended option is to take Blue Cross Blue Shield's proposal of transitioning to a self-insured plan, the next step being called what is called a level-funded plan. So that's the outline for the presentation. Talk to you a little bit about the renewal, and again, I'll walk you through what this slide looks like. You've seen a version of this at your mini retreat. So if you take a look at the different columns, this slide shows what the town premiums are in the different categories. We've got a breakdown here of medical, dental, vision, and life insurance. The next column over talks about what the current premiums are under which is a fully funded plan. So as an example, the town pays $545.12 per employee per month. Under dental, it's $30.64 per employee per month. You'll see in the comparison of the medical compared to the dental, vision, and life insurance that really the medical is the driver of this conversation that we're going to have. So in the subsequent slides, I'm really going to focus on the medical. So as Mr. Doberstein shared with you at your mini retreat, the original renewal that came from Blue Cross Blue Shield under a fully funded plan had a sizable increase associated with that. Mr. Doberstein and his staff were able to go back to Blue Cross Blue Shield and successfully bring this down to a 15% increase. Yeah, he and his staff were also able to secure from Blue Cross Blue Shield a wellness grant for $55,000. So that's $15,000 more than the last wellness grant secured from Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I'll tell you how that relates in the recommendation that we're going to provide to you. And then you'll see the thing that we added as additional coverage, which was the orthodontia coverage. We have a younger workforce with younger families, and so they've requested that we provide that as an option. That's really not a big increase, but you would not see that in the medical or vision, obviously, but you would see that in the dental. So that's the increase that we're talking about. So this is the negotiated renewal, is this last column right here, including the orthodontia coverage. The good news is the town can cover their portion of this year's increase. And the reason that we can is because we had budgeted for a 10% increase. So we're closer to the 15% renegotiated proposal than we were from the version that you saw at the mini retreat. The other thing that helps us be able to cover the expense is we budget as if we're fully staffed. We're never going to be fully staffed. There's always going to be transitions. There's always going to be people coming on in different points of the year. But because we had budgeted for a 10% increase and we had budgeted for everyone to be on board, we can cover that increase. The questions come with, can the employees cover this increase? So what that means is employees that just cover themselves or sign up for themselves, the town covers that premium. So there's no cost for employees to just cover themselves. But when they when they sign on a dependent, whether that's a spouse, a child, or their entire family, they have to pay for the differential amount. So as an example, the town pays $545.12. Anything to cover children, anything to cover family, anything to cover a spouse above and beyond that is what they're responsible for. So there is a question about, even though the town can cover this increase, can the employees cover this increase? And I'll give you detailed information on that as we get further into the presentation. There's also a bigger long-term question about these. While we were fortunate to negotiate down to 15%, we are seeing a substantial increase in high-cost claims with our employees, not only the number of employees with high-cost claims, but also the amount of those high-cost claims. There's also market increase in the health insurance industry, and so we're trying to offer you an option that makes health insurance more sustainable in the long run. So while we can cover it this year, there's a question about, can we do it in subsequent years? So those are the two bases of the recommendation of how can we make this more affordable for the employees? How can we make this more sustainable for the town? All right, as we mentioned at the mini retreat, the three drivers for the increases, there's increases just associated with the medical industry. The town specifically has had high cost claims that have gone up significantly in both number and dollar amount, and the new orthodontia benefit that has been added. The first item, the medical industry trend, we have no control over that. The last one, the new orthodontia benefit, makes a marginal difference. The one area that does drive a significant amount, and we do have some control over, is these high-cost claims, and that's going to be a key element of the recommendation that we offer to the board. So again, revisiting some details on the high-cost claims. We had 7 high-cost claims year to date. In all of last year, we only had 2. Of those 7 high-cost claims, not only, as I mentioned, they've gone up in number, but they've gone up substantially in price. We've had 6 claimants that had claims of anywhere between $20,000 to $70,000 in claims. We had 1 claimant who's over $100,000 in claims. So not only is the number of claims and the magnitude of the claims increasing, we don't know anything about the nature of the claims. So we can't predict for you what the future looks like as, was this a one-time expense or is this a chronic expense? As an example, if this was a pregnancy, this would be a one-time expense. If this is cancer, that's going to be a chronic expense. We also have no way to share with you about whether if this was predictable or not. An example being, if you have a workforce that is starting to trend to being overweight, and then they start to trend to be obese, then there's going to be a higher probability that they're going to trend to be diabetic. So we don't have any sense of, do we have some chronic illnesses or chronic claims that are coming our way, because we don't have access to that data. This is an example of one of the spreadsheets that Mr. Doberstein shared with you at the mini retreat. And really what it says is these are the members on that coverage that are meeting the deductible, but we have a lot of employees that are not meeting the deductible. And what that's a reflection of is, relatively speaking, at least from the majority of the staff, we have some healthier, maybe younger employees, but also we have a comparatively very rich plan where we've got some margin where we can increase the amount of minimum deductible and not be hurting our employees. And that's going to come up as a factor when we provide you all the recommendation later. We shared real quickly with you at mini retreat. We threw a lot of options at you, and I applaud you and appreciate you for going through that. But some of the feedback that we heard from the board, and of course it was not a vote, but some of the feedback that we heard was that you were interested in retaining the current carrier and current coverage, and that you were interested in knowing more about how to transition to level funded option. There was not really time nor appetite to shop for a new carrier, not that we thought it would have made a difference anyway in the premiums, and there did not seem to be an appetite to increase employee contribution or decrease the employee coverage, or to do a combination of either. So that's going to be the basis of the recommendation we give to you, is how do you retain current coverage with your current carrier, and how do you transition to a level funded option. So we talked earlier about while the town can cover the increase for this coming year, we are less certain about, can our employees cover the increase. So let me walk you through what this table means. If you go to this table on the bottom of this slide and you look at 3 rows down, the one that says employee plus spouse, right now under the current plan, the premium to cover employee spouse, if that employee chooses plan A, is $1,221.66. Because the town would have provided $545.12 to cover that employee, the town contributes $545.12, leaving their premium at $676.54. When we take a look at this note up here, we have 1 employee that is covering their spouse on plan A. That premium represents 11.3% of their salary. Our goal in the industry standard is for employees not to be paying more than 10% of their salary to go to health insurance. So right now, under the current plan, we have at least 1 employee that's paying more than 10% of their salary to pay for health insurance to bring their spouse on board. When we go to a renewal, and I'm foreshadowing here, but if we go to a renewal and we go to a level funded plan, the premium is actually going to be lower than if we go and renew with a full funded plan. The health insurance proposal for a premium when it comes to dependents is actually lower for employee plus spouse, employee plus children, and family. So taking that renewal amount, adding what the town's contribution will be for this coming year, it's still an increase, $724.71 per month. So while we are getting a benefit by going to a level funded plan, it's still an increase for an employee that is currently paying 11.3% of their salary. I'm going to pause there because I know I unpacked a lot before I talk about the next row. Okay. Next row is an example of employee plus children. So under the current plan, premiums that Blue Cross Blue Shield charges us is $1,080.65. Again, the town contributes $545.12, which means their monthly premium is $535.53. At $535.53, we have 3 employees that are covering children under that coverage. For some, we have an employee that represents 6.5% of their salary, so they're well under that 10%. But we also have employees that are at 10% and 13.1% of their salary. Again, renewing will only increase. Granted, it's $10 per month, but it is an increase, and that's assuming that you go with the level funded plan. If you go with a full funded plan, these premiums are higher, so the cost differential from current to renewal would be higher. No employees have picked family coverage under Plan A. And then under Plan B, similar exercise. When it comes to, let's see, we don't have any employees covering a spouse under Plan B, but we do have 4 employees covering their children under Plan B. So again, same sort of exercise.
I'm sorry, which one is Plan B?
So Plan B, in a nutshell, it's if an employee wants to go with a less rich plan, Plan B has a higher deductible. So Plan A has a $1,000 deductible. Plan B has a $2,500 deductible.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So if an employee, as a way to drive down the premium, signs up for Plan B, and Plan B is something that we just introduced this year. So this has not been an option beforehand, but we introduced it as a way to at least drive down premiums for families if they were willing to take less coverage. So let's see, so employee plus children, we got 4, I'm sorry, Mr. Miles, did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, all right. We have 4 employees that are covering their children, $973.64 as a premium, minus the town's contribution, $428. That represents anywhere between 8.9% to 10.4% of those employees' salary. So we're right around that 10%. Obviously, renewing increases that differential. Thing where we see the biggest change is employees that are covering their families. And so we've got a couple of employees that are covering their families under Plan B. They're trying to take advantage of the lower premiums. In the current year, that's $1,587.54 minus the town contribution, brings it over to a little over $1,000 a month. Of the 2 employees that have accepted that coverage, that premium represents anywhere between 14.4 and 15.6 of their percent of their annual salary. And obviously, again, up into the renewal, that difference only increases. So this gets back to that point where the town can cover the increase. It's going to become more difficult for employees when they take out dependent care coverage for them to cover, because there's not only an increase, but already in several areas that is increased, or that is above the 10% rule of thumb that we're trying to achieve and is the industry standard. So in summary, as far as the background, this is what we're seeing. Our premiums are increasing because we have significant claims. Claims are the only portion of the increase we can influence through a wellness program targeted to address the cause of those claims. So we can't do anything about the industry standard, as an example. Want to talk about the cause of the claims. If we start to see an overweight workforce become an obese workforce, there are things we can do as far as wellness, most specifically nutrition and exercise, to try to bring that trend in line so we don't see a claim that becomes, as an example that I provided, something turn into a long-term chronic claim such as diabetes. The problem is we can't create a wellness program to address the cause of those claims because we don't know the cause of the claims. And the other thing that we're finding is financial rewards alone are not incentivizing participation in our wellness program. So as an example, we've had a wellness program for a few years now. We typically have about 20 people participate. This past year, we offered $200 if people would just participate in the BMI program, which is a one-time, come to town hall, get your measurements made, and we still had about 20 people show up. So financial rewards alone are not incentivizing the wellness participation. We're going to make some recommendations on a way to increase incentivizing participation in the wellness program so we can get at both targeting those claims and keeping those claims down. In short, the recommendation we're going to provide you is an employee wellness program that's coupled with a level funded plan we consider to be the best way that we can control the costs. So if there's a way that we can have a wellness program that addresses these claims before they come high dollar claims, that's a way to control costs. If we can control costs and we're in a level funded program, we can hold on to those savings rather than turn them over to Blue Cross Blue Shield and reinvest those savings. We can reinvest those savings into higher reduction on premiums, into a more robust health insurance program and or a wellness program. The idea being that we develop a program, a health insurance program that's sustainable and as a result incentivizes wellness. So that's the background. Before I get into the recommendation, I'll pause again to see if there's any questions or comments.
Right here, that BMI, how does that get out to the employees? What do we do? That the record kind of asking them to come in. Just
Like how do we put the word out?
Correct.
Lisa, can you speak to that?
And it's actually a biometric screening, which includes BMI, but it is put out via email to them. It is put out via flyer. It's posted in the buildings. And then they have the opportunity to sign up. And it's sent out 2 or 3 times prior to that date.
All right, thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments?
So if we had been doing a fully funded or a level funded program this past year with the claims that we had, how much would we have saved?
Yeah, we don't know. It's making a lot of assumptions because we don't know what those claims were.
But we're not going to know what the claims are going forward either, are we?
We will. If we transition to a level funded, we absolutely will.
Without violating HIPAA, I'm assuming?
Alex, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so no, the information that anyone that has access to, that's the employer that has the decisions to hire or fire, anything like that, they're not going to see any personal information. So we'll see in aggregate how much the claims are, but we won't be sharing, oh, this person has this going on. It's just you have a high claimant that has this condition, but it'll be kind of anonymized, de-identified.
But in a town of 77, or let's even say 100 employees, we know when someone is sick and out. And so if we know that someone, one of the high claimants has cancer, we're going to know who that person is, right?
Right, and that within itself, kind of knowing, because when you're processing FMLA paperwork, for example, or leave management, you're going to have an idea of those indicators. As long as you're not firing someone or passing them up for a promotion because of that illness, simply having more details about the information is not a violation. It's what you do with that information. So piecing it together, oh, this person's out on leave, I think they're the person that has cancer, that's not a violation. If you say, oh, well, we're going to fire them because of that to save money, that would be a violation.
And so the level funded program is costing us 2% more still, even with the reduction?
It would, yeah. So that's the differential between the renewal rates and then the level funded rates. So you pay a little bit more for the opportunity to get this additional claim information. And if claims run well, better than expected, you have the opportunity for a refund after the plan year.
And so the 2% is a insurance on the insurance, correct? It's to manage the risk so that we don't wind up paying for more than what we are anticipating with the level funded plan.
The level funded plan has a lot of insurance components in there where you're capping your risk. So this is, you're funding it at the worst case scenario. You're not going to be asking for any more money. This is, funded at the worst case scenario with the opportunity for refunds. Is that what you're thinking, or why is it 2% more? It's kind of
No, I just wanted to make sure that
no risk. Yes, is that right?
the
Okay.
2% is to ensure that we have no risk.
That's right. Yes. Yep.
And then when I look at this on a page that isn't numbered, it says recommendation transition to self-funded. Could you go to that slide, please, Joe? To that slide.
That's
It's
a
after 18.
future slide.
Okay.
Is there any more questions on the background? Okay. All right, as far as the recommendation, so the basis of the recommendation is we're looking to control costs. If someone has placed someone on dependent care coverage, we want to use the margin that we've got to at least freeze those dependent care rates or those dependent care premiums at the 2023 rate. So I talked to you about this is what they're paying now, represents X percent of their salary, at least freeze it at the 2023 rate. So that's part of the recommendation. The other part of the recommendation is to make the transition towards a self-insured plan. So self-insured plan is a complete independence. The next step from where we are right now, which is a fully insured, is to go to a level funded. So that's the second part of the recommendation, is go towards a level funded program. And then the last is to come up with a different way to incentivize participation in the wellness program. As far as what are the goals behind that recommendation, we're looking to expand the wellness program, have an effective wellness program that fosters a healthier workforce. Therefore, the idea being that a healthier workforce lowers the premiums for both the employees and the town, so that for those employees that are covering the premiums of their dependents, that those premiums go down, but also the premium is that the town is paying, it goes down, so the town can then hold on to those savings and reinvest that into health insurance and wellness program. And then finally, the final goal is for that health insurance to become more sustainable and resultingly a healthier workforce. Is this the slide you were referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want me to go through it first before you ask your question, or do you want to ask your question?
Well, just as long as when you're explaining, when you're going through it, could you please explain why under the employee plus spouse, employee plus children and family, the rates are lower for the level funded portion?
Okay, so Alex, just cue in advance. All right, so right now, under Plan A, if an employee chooses Plan A, under the fully funded plan, which is the plan that you've got right now, the town pays $545.12. Employees plus spouse premium is $1,221. Employee plus children is $1,088.65, and the family is $1,784. That's the premium. That's not necessarily what the employee pays because we contribute $545.12 to that. If you were to renew, if you were to go the do nothing route, which is just to renew with Blue Cross Blue Shield under a fully funded plan, the employee premiums go up to $628.47. If you were to go with a level funded plan, that's that 2% increase that Alex was talking about, that for the employee it goes up to $639.90. that 96 cents. That's that insurance on the insurance, so to speak, that Commissioner Baxter was talking about. Now, to the question of why does a fully funded plan in 2024 cost more than a level funded plan in 2024, which I think is your question, correct?
Right.
And that's where Alex is going to be much better suited to answer than I am.
Yep, so we call it slope, which is the relationship of those different tiers to the employee-only tier. So, the spouse rate is 2.2 times the employee-only rate, around there. So what that is making the assumption of how much spouses cost to insure, saying they're more than the cost of an employee just because they tend to have higher claims than those people that are actively working. If they're potentially not working, it's just kind of using a big actuarial estimate. And these are calculations on the fully insured. They're pretty outdated calculations. They've stayed the same for many, many years. When you move to a level funded plan, they say we don't have to use those exact calculations. It ties a little more closely to the actual risk of that type of dependent. So the children, as you see, it's a little bit bigger, more extreme. That's a good example where the cost of health care has gone up each year, but the cost of insuring a child has not gone up proportionally because they're not utilizing the plan on a day-to-day basis like someone with a chronic condition would be. There's a little more accident one time here, a little bit there. So using that, it's an outdated equation to assume that children are twice as much as employees. You shouldn't have to almost double the rate just to insure your children. So the level funded is just a little bit more close to the actual risk of adding those dependents. So it's a different calculation. It's just an underwriting calculation using a more updated formula.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, that was a good catch on that. Joe had the same one there. He's like, is this right? Yeah.
Were there any other questions on this slide? All right. Now, we talked about how if an employee is covering dependents, that even if we go to a level funded plan with the lower premiums, they're still going to see an increase. So pull out a couple of examples here. So on Plan A, the row that says employee plus spouse, the one employee that has chosen that coverage will see $600 increase over the coming year. For the 3 employees that are covering their children under Plan A, they will see a $360 increase over the coming year. For those employees that have chosen Plan B, so that's, we've got 4 employees that have chosen the employee plus children coverage. They're looking at paying an extra $1,200 a year. And then for the family, they're paying $75 per month, which would cost the town $1,800. So one of the things that we're proposing, because we do have margin, and thanks to the renegotiation that Alex and his team have done, is that for those employees that are currently providing dependent care coverage, that the town contribute to that to at least freeze those premiums at the 2023 rates. I'll take any questions or comments on that before I move on.
So you're saying that the town would absorb in Plan A $960, and that would cover the 4 employees that have taken advantage of the additional coverage?
That's exactly right.
And you're going to be you're recommending the same for Plan B? So an additional $3,000? So it would be $3,900, just under $4,000 to cover the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 employees?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll move on. And so then when it comes to the third part of the recommendation, which is to incentivize the wellness participation, what we're proposing is right now we offer all employees Plan A, which relatively speaking is a rich plan. What our proposal is, this is a way to incentivize wellness, is we offer Plan B. So the deductible will increase right now from $1,000 to $2,500. prescriptions will go from $10 to $20. So if an employee is happy with Plan B, if they don't see themselves as getting anywhere near that deductible or having a deductible or not have any prescriptions, they may be content with Plan B. If, however, they want the Plan A coverage, they can pay for that difference out of pocket. So that's that second block. Or the third block is that the town will pay that difference if the employee participates in wellness programs throughout the year. And I'll give examples of what participation in wellness looks like. So the town would cover the $50 difference. It's actually $48, but just round it up for budgeting purposes. $50 a month per person if that employee participates in wellness and they want the Plan A coverage. And then the last category is, let's say they are okay with the Plan B coverage, but they also participate in wellness. Then they've got a couple of options before them. They can take that $50 and they can further drive down the premiums on their dependents. Or if they just want cash, we can give them the equivalent in a gift card. We can't pay them because you get into taxing issues, and then there's all sorts of equivalency things between what's the equivalence between a buy down and a gift card. But that's the notion of a way to incentivize the wellness program. Take a rich plan and offer the next level down as the base plan that we'll offer everyone. And if people want to buy up, they can buy up, or they can buy up, so to speak, by participating in wellness. Is there any questions or comments on this? All right, so what is wellness? The town of Zebulon offers several programs right now. So those caricatures on the left are good examples of that. So we offer a biometric screening. We offer an annual flu shot clinic. We have annual challenges, the Maintain, Don't Gain challenge being an example. We offer cooking classes. Those are very popular, especially because people get to come in and have a chef tell them how to cook healthy, and then most importantly, they get fed. So those are very popular classes. We also have classes that, because of our relationship with Wake Med, that employees can participate in, and actually, coincidentally enough, Sam Slater, his company, Wyrick Robbins, they have a partnership with Wake Med, and so he can speak to some of the ways that that company participates. But we have similar options here. And then on the right is more of like a checklist, and they're just more like things related to annual or biannual checkups, whether they be a physical, whether it be a dental cleaning, an eye exam, or so on and so forth. And then we're also introducing mental health components as well, the EAP being the most traditional appointment. So what we're looking for right now is on that screen, I think there's probably 14 items. But what we're looking is if an employee can at least attend one wellness activity every 2 months, meaning so that we can check in on every couple of months. Hey, you opted for the wellness participation, and because of that, your premiums are being paid down, or you've been upgraded from Plan B to Plan A, or we've given you a gift card. This is a way to check in that, hey, are you doing that? And if you're not doing that for the next 2 months, as an example, then you don't get the premium reduction. You have to pay for the premium increase on your own, or you don't get a gift card. So that's how we are looking at a way, and we don't have to have that exactly figured out, but that's the intent, is that we're having routine monitoring based upon a whole host of options for employees to participate in a wellness activity of their choosing, just as long as they're participating. I'll pause again to see if there's any questions or comments.
Am I to assume they have to do each one of these topics under what is wellness in order to get the buy down or the gift card, and how do you verify that?
So what we're looking at right now is they at least participate in 6 activities. So we've got more than 6 up there. So they've got options. As far as the verification, there's lots of ways to verify. So as an example, the biometric screening, that would be an example of them coming in here and we actually saw them and they signed off on something. when it comes to things like the dental cleaning or the physical, something as simple as a note from the doctor could be an example of that. Cooking class would also be an attendance type of verification. Lisa, would you like to add on to about the verification as well?
Yes, one of the things we're working with IBA, and we currently use Employee Navigator, where all the employees have access to this. All the things that will be offered will be listed, and they'll be able to go in and they'll be able to check off that they have done it and upload whatever documentation that they have to show that it has been completed.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Are any of those available online?
Yes, they are. WakeMed has a lot of things that are available online
So they can
as
do
far
like
as webinars.
The one-on-one meeting with a WakeMed nutritionist, they're not going to have to drive to WakeMed. They could do that perhaps
No,
online?
they would not. They could if they wanted to, but I mean, it's available online, and it's such an easy thing to do.
Okay.
So we try to make it as easy as possible so that we can deal with the mental wellness or nutrition or, smoking cessation, whatever it may be.
Okay, so I don't see anything like smoking cessation on this list. Would that be covered under which one?
We didn't put everything up there.
Okay.
But we're trying to make a list and come up with as many things as possible so that, we can address it. Part of the biometric screening, let's say someone smokes, that could be an option for them to use that as part of the things that they need to do to meet all the requirements for the biometric screening.
Okay, and so just so that I'm fully clear, the employee would, no matter how many, these are a portion but not all of the things that they have for options, and they will only have to perform or accomplish 6 of those within a calendar year in order to get the benefit of the reduced rate or what we normally, the Plan A rate.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Or gift card.
Correct, right, or Plan B with the gift card and the buy down.
Other questions or comments?
The gift card comes from the town or from the insurance company? Make sure I understand.
It comes from the town.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? So as far as next steps, the alternatives that you have before you is to just do nothing. That will automatically renew your current proposal from Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is to continue with the fully funded plan. The other option, and the one that staff is recommending, is that you begin the transition to a self-funded plan by taking the next step of going to a level-funded plan, which is to accept the Blue Cross Blue Shield proposal for a level-funded plan. As far as your time frame to make the decision, tonight obviously is an opportunity available to you. That's staff's recommendation. If you, unless you have additional questions, your next regular meeting is your December regular meeting. Some things to keep in mind is that will significantly compress the enrollment time for employees to consider and weigh which coverage they want to choose. I want to say it compresses it to a 1-week time frame for them to consult with their family on what insurance to choose. Recognition that while they will have insurance coverage, the cards themselves won't arrive until after the new year, and so that can be somewhat unsettling for an employee. But in some cases, it can also be problematic at a doctor's office when someone has to verify a number and not have the card. And do know that if the decision isn't made tonight, if it is kicked to the December regular meeting, this is a new board decision. So this will be a decision that has to be considered with new board members in place. And again, staff's recommendation is to accept Blue Cross Blue Shield's proposal to provide a level-funded health insurance plan. And while you have asked questions all along the way, we're available for any additional questions you may have.
So this sample motion that we have on the next page will be to accept the level funded plan with the incentivized wellness participation program.
That is the way we would administer the program.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that I had an understanding of how we were voting on this and what exactly it was going to entail.
Any other further questions or comments?
This doesn't break it down to specific, like care for, say, cancer or some ailment or what it may be. Is there a way of finding out exactly what this would cover for us maternity-wise for our employees? Or in this current, what Blue Cross Blue Shield offers? Where would I find that information out?
I'm sorry,
Sorry,
could you repeat it one more time,
Like
please?
maternity-wise, specific-wise, what do we cover for that? I know it's probably in something that Blue Cross and Blue Shield will give to us. Is that
From
something that we-
maternity?
For
Correct.
maternity?
Yes,
It's
for his year.
It's covered under the plan.
Correct.
And exactly what is covered.
Correct.
It's, that part I don't know.
Okay.
Specifically, that has not changed from year to year, so we've tried to keep it as much as possible for our staff
Okay.
and our employees.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have an idea of what that would entail?
Sorry, it was maternity? Is that what it
I
was?
think that's what it is.
Yeah, okay, it's like, you don't look pregnant, sir, no, yeah. But in general, yeah, no, it generally it falls under the deductible when you make it into the hospital.
Okay.
So whatever that deductible is, was what you'll end up paying, plus the co-insurance after that. But this would stay the same whether you're fully insured or level funded, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, are we ready for a motion?
I hereby recommend approval of Blue Cross Blue Shield's proposal of a level-funded health insurance plan.
We have a
Second.
motion. Second, Commissioner Baxter. Discussion? Hearing none.
One
Go ahead.
thing. Would it be possible for us to get an update on how much participation there is, like halfway through the year, so that we can have an understanding if this has been enough to incentivize the wellness program, or if it is not successful, please?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I failed to mention earlier, Commissioner Harrison is not here tonight. She's at the League of National, what is it?
National League of Cities.
The National League of Cities Conference. Roll vote. Commissioner Laux,
In favor?
Commissioner Clark,
In favor.
Commissioner Miles,
Favor.
Commissioner.
Favor.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's nothing else to call our attention. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, second. All in favor?
Favor.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.